As we're talking about building mental health, and folks, I'm talking mental health, right? Not mental illness. We want to focus on what keeps us healthy, just like gas going into your car, the food you put into your body, sugar being one of those things, really can disrupt the brain and how it works and how it functions.
It's mental. You have to change the way you think about food. You have to stop thinking that you can utilize food to make you happy. Don't eat just to eat. Eat to fulfill the hunger, and then that's it.
Welcome to Living the Front Seat Life. I'm your host, Kelly Marie, and I invite you to take this journey with me. We're going to be talking about all things mental health and emotional well-being. You see, I am a overcomer. If you are interested in figuring out the path for you to determine how and where you will drive your future, this is the place to be. We get to determine the ride. We may not get to determine the weather or who's on the road with us or if it's going to be a scenic route or not. But we are the drivers. So join me on this ride, living the front seat life.
Welcome to Living the Front Seat Life. I am back with Chef Alexa. We were talking last time about sugar and inflammation. It started with inflammation, but she had to take us back and give us some foundational information around what inflammation is, how it works, and this thing called sugar. So I shared with you guys my need as a kid and adult. My sugar issues have not gone away, and Alexa and I have had this conversation I don't know how many times over the last 20 or so years. And so I wanted to space this out because 15 minutes just wasn't enough to get it all done. So shout out to Lisk. Thank you for your support. Shout out to Jazzy T. Thank you for being the realest, the illest podcast producer on the face of the planet. Sugar, Chef Alexa.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me back.
Man, sugar. I am stuck on sugar. I've been trying to shake my sugar habit for years.
It's tough.
For years. So sugar's in everything.
Mm-hmm.
It is a leading cause of inflammation. And you mentioned sugar in the joints. Could you just, I just want to kind of go over that again. Can you tell people about that piece?
Well, sugar is a big part of inflammation. And sugar can have the similar reaction to the joints that salt can cause. So what salt does, it naturally draws out moisture. That's why we salt our foods. That's how people preserve their foods. By layering it with salt, removing the moisture so that it could be preserved over the winter. I'm talking about, those times when we didn't have really reliable refrigeration systems. So sugar impacts the body in a number of different ways. And one of them is it will affect your joints. But again, that also starts in your stomach, period. So let me go back a beat when I talk about sugar and inflammation. When we are eating the wrong things, it will affect our digestive system and our stomach. And it will primarily affect our gut. So I don't know if you've heard of the term leaky gut syndrome. So what this does is it will affect your body in such a way. So the different things that we put into our body and the way that we digest food and eat food will impact or deteriorate the lining of our stomach. And when that deterioration happens, instead of your food being fully digested and leading to your bloodstream, some broken up larger pieces of food will enter your bloodstream. When that happens, your body sends out the signals, there's an invader. I have a virus in my system. Attack it. That virus system, those white blood cells are going to go into action and say, okay, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. And they're just going to go into overreaction mode. And that is what starts the inflammation. When you get a cut, inflammation, it usually goes away, right? If you have a head cold, you get a fever, inflammation, it typically goes away. When it doesn't go away, that's going to start impacting. So the things that are supposed to be good for our bodies tend to get caught up in that reaction. So going back to sugar, sugar is a big piece of that reaction, especially if you have this leaky gut. And if you don't have the leaky gut, again, it affects your body in lots of different ways. It affects your joints. It affects your skin. It affects your blood pressure. It affects the walls, the cellular walls in your body, your joints. Everything is impacted. So you have to be really mindful about how much sugar you have and when, as well as what ways we take sugar in to our bodies. We take sugar in ways that we don't even realize. And I hope I answered your question.
Can you give folks an example when you say we take sugar in ways that we don't realize?
So in a lot of marinades, in a lot of seasonings, in packaged foods, freezer meals and, convenience foods, they have salt. They contain salt and sodium. Those are the two things that preserve foods to make it more shelf stable or to make it more stable so that it still tastes good when you eat it. Sugar's in everything, not just in baked goods. It's in wine. People don't think about sugar in wine because
the phone. So, keep going. Keep going.
How is wine made? Wine is made from grapes. Grapes contain what? Sugar.
That's kind of
and people say, yeah, but there's different types of sugar. Some sugar is good for you. Some sugar is bad. No matter which way you cut it, sugar is sugar, period.
And so as it relates to our mental health, what are some, because again, I self-medicated with sugar, and many people self-medicate with sugar and don't even realize that that's what they're doing. That comfort food meal, that cake, let's make some brownies, let's make cookies.
Yep. And ice cream and syrup.
Yes. Let alone, because we think just the, sugar in the bag, when it comes from the store, the box, depending upon what kind of sugar you're buying. But I recently read that there's sugar in toothpaste. You're spitting that out. But still, just the thought of, sugar being everywhere. But it has a physical effect on how we think. Mm-hmm. So that sugar high, sugar crash.
Brain fog.
Right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I didn't intend for us to go in this direction, but, as we're talking about building mental health, and folks, I'm talking mental health, right? Not mental illness. We want to focus on what keeps us healthy. How can we get healthy?
If you've been thinking about starting a podcast and you want to include interviews with people across town, Riverside.fm offers unbelievable high-quality recordings regardless of your or your guest internet quality. And it also gives you separate audio and video tracks for each person speaking. And unlike Zoom, you don't have to install anything on your computer, and your guests don't either. Head over to Riverside.fm and use promo code JazzyCast to get 60 free minutes of recording and 15% off a membership plan.
When it comes to our mental health, and this is one of those areas, this is one of those components, again, just like gas going into your car, the food you put into your body, sugar being one of those things, really can disrupt the brain and how it works and how it functions. So can you give folks some suggestions now that we all know sugar is in absolutely everything? Can you give folks a couple of suggestions on how to cut back sugar?
Yes. The first is awareness. You need to become
Didn't I tell
aware.
y'all that a couple weeks ago? You got to know what's going on.
You got to know what's going on. You have to actually evaluate your diet. You have to look in your hand. Do you have a candy bar in your hand right now?
I don't.
Okay. But somebody might.
I
Evaluate.
did have some Skittles.
Well, and how many of those have you had in one day? It's 9 o'clock. I remember I was consulting with someone and they were, going down this path and we were evaluating. She was like, well, I don't eat a lot of sugar. I said, okay. I said, but do you drink water? She was like, nah, not really. She said, I drink other things. I said, okay, well, what do you drink? I drink coffee. She puts sugar in her coffee. She probably puts creamer in her coffee too. And then she said, well, and every morning, I drink a Tahitian treat in the morning just to get me started. I'm like, wait a second.
The red drink?
Yes. Tahitian treat. So a lot of us drink our sugar and our calories and don't realize it. So we think we're doing good by drinking, a diet Coke or a tea instead of soda or coffee, different things like that. But how much sugar is in it. 1. 2, how many servings are in the container that you're drinking? Is
Read
it
the
2
label.
servings? Is it 4 servings? So after awareness, you need to educate yourself. So in simple terms, if you're reading labels, the simplest thing I can tell you is that there are 4 grams of sugar in 1 teaspoon of sugar. And it's a little off. It's like 4.2, maybe 4.4. But 4 grams of sugar in 1 teaspoon of sugar. Now, the standard American diet, which is the SAD diet, I call it, recommends 6 to 9 teaspoons of sugar a day. In my book, that's way too much. That's a lot for me. Now, if you look at a soda that is, typically in a container that contains 2 servings, I think 1 serving on the Tahitian treat might have been like 36 grams of sugar.
Oh, wow.
Whether it was 1 serving or 2 serving, that's still 9 teaspoons of sugar in 1 bottle that you're just drinking once a day. How much more
Right.
sugar are you drinking?
To start the day.
Yes.
Wow.
4 grams of sugar in 1 teaspoon. So after awareness, you need to have knowledge. And that knowledge includes understanding how much sugar is too much. And 2, how much sugar are you taking on a daily basis? And then I would say the last thing, it's mental. You have to change the way you think about food. You have to stop thinking that you can utilize food to make you happy. You have to change the way that you think about food and how you're consuming it. Don't eat just to eat. Eat to fulfill the hunger, and then that's it. Don't over obsess about it. And you also need to know that when you are consuming sugar, recognize what it's doing to your body. See how you feel. If you start reducing the amount of sugar that you put into your body, your tastes are going to automatically start to change. You will notice a difference. When you add more water to your diet and you reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you will notice that your tastes are changing. The flavor that you want to strive to get to is a bitter flavor. That should taste good to you. So bitter greens.
An example. Okay.
Bitter greens like dandelion, chard, collard greens without the sugar and the salt and the pot liquor.
Stop putting sugar in y'all greens. No sauce and no sugar.
There's terms about decolonizing your diet and things like that, which I think is another topic, which is important, especially when it comes to mental health and diet. You want to change the way you think about your day and your meals. The first time we wake up, what's the breakfast food of champions?
Cereal.
And if it's not cereal, which contains a lot of what?
Sugar.
And a lot of white foods and white flour. If it's not cereal, then guess what's the next best thing that we can have for breakfast? Usually on a really big plate.
Pancakes.
Pancakes, eggs, sausage.
Yes.
You don't have to eat all that for breakfast.
Okay, we just uninvited Chef Alexa as our mental health chef.
Yes, it takes a lot
real.
of undoing. It's real. We have to unlearn so many traumas around not only mental health and generational health, but around food, around the way we eat, why we eat the way that we eat. Why do you have to eat meat 7 days a week, 3 times a day?
And I used to be that person. Now, don't get me wrong. I still get down with a bowl of meat.
And that's okay. It's not every day.
Right. And I appreciate your perspective and your suggestions to don't worry about taking out the meat. Add more vegetables.
No,
and
just
as you
add more
more
vegetables.
the meat, there's no place on the plate for it, guys. And when you think about, we don't need meat and the meat that we're eating, I can almost guarantee you, unless you're on a plan or you've been doing this for a while, it's more than a serving size. And so it's developing, like you said, that healthy relationship around food and understanding what's best for us.
Yep.
Listen, you guys, this is still a part of my journey. You've seen my pictures. You can tell I'm still eating sugar. But it is.
You're doing much better. You're aware now. You're aware.
I am. I am. And I find that the more I exercise, the better I eat. And not even intentionally. That is a whole nother topic for another day. But we've come to the end of another show. I don't know how, but yeah. Yeah. So any parting words, parting thoughts for folks as we wrap up for today?
Make vegetables the star of your plate.
Bam. That is a doable, not just doable today. Like you can make vegetables the star of your plate little by little.
Yep, that's it.
Make them the star. Oh, and we have to talk about corn. Okay, so yeah, we're going to have to do maybe once a month. I don't know. Maybe it's time for the Chef Alexa podcast.
Oh.
Not that you don't have 50 million things going on, because you guys, she's an artist. Her whole family is creative. Listen, the whole... you guys. So, again, another time, we're going to have to dive deeper, because I would love to talk about art as therapy, mental health, and that connection. And
I think that's great.
So, well, yeah, we have to have you come back. Thank you, Chef Alexa, so much.
Thank you.
You guys, thank you so much for listening. I will be back next week, but I want to give you some quick numbers. If you're in a crisis and you need someone to talk to, please call the Suicide Prevention Helpline at 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-273-8255. Or you can text HOME 741-741. Both of these options are confidential, they're free, and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, if you need resources to help you address some issues or life circumstances, try 211. Dial 211 on your phone, go to 211 in your browser, you can do a keyword search, or if you give them a call, they can do the work for you and give you a list of resources that are available in your area. So until next time, again, Chef Alexa, thank you so much, and everyone, be the light.
Yay! Thank you, ma'am.
No problem.
That was awesome.